You're listening to the Convene Connections podcast with your host, Matthew Currin.
And good evening, everybody. It's Matthew Currin, and I'm here with, this special guest this time. It's Brayden Currin, my son. How are you tonight, Brayden?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I'm doing good. So this is a pretty exciting one for me, because you've been such a huge part of everything that we've been doing with Convene. But this tonight is a little bit more than just Convene. It's, you have a good story. And we've been talking about this a lot, that I think you need to talk about your story, you need to tell your story. And Convene is all about, real life, real people, real experiences, and, that we have a story. And you have one, right? So
That's right.
So we're going to get into it a little bit. And I think this is pretty exciting. If you're listening and watching and you have questions for Brayden, or myself as we go through this, please ask. We're going to talk about, soccer. We're going to talk about all the way through college. We're going to talk about business and what you're doing now. We'll go, we'll ultimately get into Convene Communities here in a bit. But, let's talk a little bit about you. Let's go back and let's talk, just tell everybody what you're doing now, where you're at, where you live. And then we're going to kind of go back and just kind of kick it about, talking about who you are and what kind of made you who you are.
All right. So I am 23 years old. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina right now. I moved here in January, about mid-January. So I've been here ever since. And I work for a company today called TTI. And basically what we do, in a nutshell, is we sell power tools. That's my day job. And that's where I'm at today.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And, you've been at that for a couple months now, and there's something that led up that we'll get into that I think is kind of a pretty cool, amazing story, that kind of led you to this new company, TTI, and selling tools. But let's talk about you. Let's talk about, your story a little bit about soccer. Let's get into soccer. And there's a pretty good story behind soccer and what's gotten you to the point that you are and who you are kind of as a person. And, if I'm just starting it off and being honest with you, it's, it didn't always come too easy for you, did it?
Nope, it certainly didn't. Soccer has been a part of my life as long as I can remember. And really there are two sports that have been a part of my life. One was baseball, actually. So I started out playing baseball when I was young. Played baseball all the way up through sixth grade. Really enjoyed baseball. I loved it. Some of my best childhood memories, really, really young, are from playing baseball. But when we moved to Winston-Salem back in like 2008, in sixth grade, we joined a little league there, and I started playing. And I, could field the ball really well. But I started to struggle with hitting. For some reason, I had always been a pretty solid hitter for the most part, but I couldn't figure it out. And you couldn't figure it out. Nobody could figure it out. The amount of people that we had look at my swing and whatnot, nobody could figure it out. But I couldn't hit the ball, worth of crap. So that was really weird. And so at that point, I was playing soccer at the same time. And at that point, it was almost like you kind of had to pick one. If you wanted to get serious about it, if you wanted to really buckle down and focus on a particular sport, you had to pick one. And you've mentioned to me how that's a whole lot different than what it was like for you back in the day, right?
Yeah, back when I played back in the day, we were three sport guys. We played football, we played basketball, and we played baseball. And you went from season to season to season. I'll never forget when your sister Megan said to me one day, she's like, well, Dad, how many baseball games did you used to play a year? And we were actually having the talk. She did a thing called the coin toss kid for a Wake Forest Demon Deacon football game. And at Wake Forest, they do what's called open the gate. And they bring back somebody who's really famous. And she ends up escorting this old guy onto the field. She has no clue who this is. And it ends up being Arnold Palmer, right? And so
the most legendary golf player ever.
One of the most legendary golf players ever. And we're talking about, she's asking who he is afterwards, and we're talking about Tiger Woods. Well, somehow it starts talking about how you guys had friends at the time that were playing 160, 180 baseball games a year at that age, at that young age. And so I remember Megan asked me, she said, well, Dad, you played college baseball. Did you play a lot of games? And I said, well, we used to play, about 60 games a year, maybe 70, because we played 3 sports, football, basketball, baseball. And I'll never forget, Megan looked at me and she goes, well, you must not have been very good then,
She's probably right.
whatever. And it's just that mentality, right? It's that mentality of that you guys grow up in nowadays. You pick a sport, you play a sport. There's hardly any kids who play multiple sports, which is it's kind of a really big shame, So to go back to talk about your hitting, I couldn't figure it out, right? Because we would do short toss and I'd be throwing it and you threw right, hit left, and you just had just a beautiful swing. And we'd do short toss and you'd be like, just ripping it, just ripping it. And I could not figure out what was going on, why you were off, because your swing was always right there on the ball, but you just weren't making good contact. Yeah. So I'll let you finish the story because this is interesting.
So anyway, I get so frustrated about it, just so frustrated down to the dumps, can't hit anything. All my friends are hitting and everybody's starting to hit bombs and stuff at this age. And I'm like, what the heck? Why can't I figure it? What's going on here? So anyway, wound up getting kind of frustrated with it and decided to go with soccer, which I truly, truly loved. I loved soccer. I really did. I was pretty good at it too. But just to circle back on the whole baseball thing, we figured out a few months later, that's when my vision started to go bad.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. You came home from school and you're like, Dad, you said it to me because these are the words out of my mouth. You said, hey, Dad, I need to go to the eye doctor. I can't see the board in school. And the first words out of my mouth was like, that's it. That's why you couldn't hit worth a shit. And that was it. That was it, So it was like an awakening moment. But to be honest, you had kind of already moved.
Yeah, I had
moved on to soccer at the time.
Yeah, we had made that commitment at that point. But had we figured that out prior, who knows? Maybe I turned out a baseball player. But anyway, went the soccer route, and at that time I started playing classic soccer. So prior to us moving to Winston-Salem in 2008, you and I made a trip before we had moved for me to try out for a team. And I wound up, didn't know anybody, nobody knew me, but I wound up making a classic soccer team. And for those who don't know what the, different levels or progressions of club soccer, youth club soccer, it's basically goes recreation ball, challenge soccer is what they call it, classic soccer, premier soccer, and then academy is really the top tier level there. So back in 2008, I was in 6th grade at the time, wound up making that classic team, which was a big deal. Big deal. And ended up making that team and running with it, and that ended up being a great season. I met some guys and played with some guys on that year that I wound up being my best friends that I still keep in touch with today. One of the guys, actually, Robert Cornelius, who, if you're watching, Robert, what's up, man? But Robert Cornelius actually ended up being my freshman roommate at Guilford, and he's getting married later this year, and I'm like a groomsman in his wedding. So pretty cool there. But anyway, so that's kind of where the serious soccer journey began back in that time frame.
Yeah, and pretty funny too. I was just on the phone right when you got on this call to get ready to get on the phone, and I was talking to your coach from that, Tony Savio, right. So I was talking to your coach on the phone, which I coach now. With him at Reynolds High School. I coach for him, you could say. I coach the JV, and then I assist with the varsity. But, I was talking to your coach from that team as well. So,
Small
pretty
world,
cool.
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so that kind of started your career, really focusing down on soccer. Mm-hmm. You were on, one of the lower classic teams.
Yeah, so I was on the silver team, what they call it. It was Twin City Youth Soccer in Winston-Salem. It was the silver team, which there were 3 teams at the classic level, silver, blue, and then white. And I was on silver. So I was kind of at the bottom of the totem pole in that, in that respect.
And I actually had the talk with Tony about this. If you remember, y'all were good that year. So y'all beat the blue team.
Yeah.
But you weren't getting any respect, because you were a bunch of guys who had a lot to prove.
Yeah, we were a motley crew.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, as you continue to grow and somewhat grow, because we'll talk about that, and move up. Talk about what happened as you started moving up teams, because you were playing pretty well. Everything was going pretty good. And
so I spent 1 year on that silver team, and then tryouts rolled around for the next year, and I ended up making the blue team, if I recall. So that was good. That was a step up, and obviously my goal at that time, I had it in my mind. I wanted to play at the highest level that I possibly could, and that remained true for my entire career. That's just sort of the mindset that I have. But I wanted to play at the best level, so moving up to that blue team, that was a success. And then the goal was spend a season on that blue team, move up to the white team. And so spent a year playing on that blue team, played for a coach called Andy Tate, British guy, really, really good coach. Had a pretty good season. We had a pretty solid team. And again, like my goal was to move up to that white team after that season. But it just didn't quite happen for me. For a number of reasons, but I think there was probably one or two in particular that they called me out on. So,
yeah. Well, at that point in time, here's what started for you, and we'll build on that, because this is, I think, where a shift happened with you mentally, and this is kind of important, and I think it's good to talk about, is that your mom and I did not make big people, right?
No.
So at that point in time, you were the smallest on your team, and you were battling. You just battled for everything that you did. And so I will never forget when you got the phone call about moving up, and, everybody was expecting you to move up. And basically the call was that, hey, we were going to move you up. We feel like your skill's there. Feel like you're doing good, but your size is not. Right? Yeah.
It was.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was basically two things. I think it was size, and then it was a little bit of speed of play, or that's what they call it. It's sort of a catchphrase in the world of soccer. If you're a soccer player out there, I'm sure you've heard your speed of play has got to be better. You get that a lot. But I think that speed of play, they also basically meant, hey, you're not very fast either. You're small. Small guys are often fast. You're small and not very fast at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a double whammy, but I was still good on the ball. I was a midfielder at the time, still good on the ball. Like, all of that was there. Good passer of the ball, good playmaker, things like that. So I had that toolkit going for me. And so, after that first season playing on the blue team, wanted to move up, didn't quite happen. So I had to spend that second year on the blue team, which was a little bit of a crushing blow. But that was really the first time that I had kind of faced adversity like that in sports, aside from the whole baseball thing. But yeah, in the world of soccer, that was the first time that I had really faced adversity, and that sort of changed something in me, because it was a setback. I hadn't really seen that before. I hadn't really felt what that felt like before, but I didn't like it. But I turned it into something positive, which was to work hard, spend extra time outside of practice trying to, get my feet a little bit quicker, working on trying to get a little bit faster as well. And then also, of course, working on the ball. So, like, I remember I used to do private lessons with Andy Tate, who was the coach of the blue team at the time. So that's really where that sort of work hard mentality, go that extra mile, that sweat equity, I guess you might call it, really started to kick in.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, because we're going to keep talking about this, but I'm going to read one comment, and then we'll come back to a question that I want you to answer later from Patty Moeller. But the one comment your college coach, Jeff, who's a real big part of Convene and all that, is watching. And we're fast forwarding to your college career, but he said one of the main reasons I wanted you to play in college for me was the desire to be better each season, game, etc. Tremendous dedication of being a better player in person. And that's true. And so I think this, and the reason why I want to read that now, I think this was really the start of that journey for you, because, you know, if you go back and you may remember this or not, but I sent this to your sister the other day about soccer. That was around the time when the Tom Brady story came out, somewhere around that. And it talked about how he had faced adversity and he was picked the 199th pick. And he had faced adversity. And this was very frustrating to you at the time because you had a good season and you wanted to go, and to be told you were too small. Well, if you go back and watch the Tom Brady story, and I encourage any parent that's watching this, who's having a child that's going through this, have them watch it. Have them watch that. Have them watch The Last Dance. Have them watch Michael Jordan's mentality. Have them watch Tom Brady, because Tom Brady truly is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he wasn't very successful early on. He just took his opportunities as they came. Patty, we're going to get back to this question, but I want to read it to you now. What would you go back and tell yourself and tell your younger self? Right? So we'll get back to that. I want to come back to that because I think this is important to the conversation. But so now you're on the blue team. You have another good season. I think you get a different coach this year, or you had the same coach. I can't remember. This is when John Stubblefield came in. I can't remember.
John Stubblefield is not. He's not there.
He's
yet.
Later.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're in my eighth grade. We're in my eighth grade year right now.
Yep.
And this is my second season on the blue team. And it wound up being a good season. I had a good season. I mean, I had a good season that year.
Well, let me back up and tell one thing.
Ahead.
You were told, work hard, play hard. We're going to move you up to the white team at midseason.
Yeah.
And what happened? Any explanations on what happened?
No.
Nah. Midseason came and went, and you didn't move up, right? So this whole time, where you're working hard, but where's your attitude getting? Because this is when it kind of kicks in. You're at it, your chip on your shoulder, right? You start getting a little chip on your shoulder.
Started to get a little chip on my shoulder. Like soccer's a team sport, but at that time and at this point, I'm in eighth grade. I'm starting to think about high school. I'm starting to think about making the high school team. And even past that, I always had aspirations to play after high school and things like that. So that's where it started to get, I guess, a little bit personal for me, if you will. And like at that point in time is really when I started to adopt the mentality. It's like, okay, I've got something to prove here. I've got something to prove, and I'm going to do every single thing that I possibly can to prove it and to prove some certain people wrong who I guess didn't believe in me back in that time period. Yeah.
All right. So keep talking. Where are we at?
Yeah.
Eighth grade.
Yeah. So we're at eighth grade. That is finished club soccer at that, year round at that time, fall and spring. But eighth grade moving into ninth grade. And this is an exciting time frame because I'm going into high school. And there's a high school team, and of course wanted to play on the high school team. And so we start having summer workouts for Reagan. Awesome. I mean, it was just awesome. It was an awesome time period. But of course, moving back to this whole mentality thing, I wanted nothing to do with JV, nothing to do with it, because I believed that I was quality enough, on the ball and things like that to play at that varsity level. Was I big? Absolutely not. Was I super fast? Absolutely not. But I had, I was quality on the ball, and I felt that I had, up here, that soccer IQ that Coach Bateson always likes to talk about. I felt that I had that up there, and so that's really what I set my sights on at that point in time. Yeah.
So you go out. This is one of my favorite stories to tell about you, and we'll get to the final of the story a little bit later. But I would go out and I would take you. Obviously, you couldn't drive at the time, so I'd take you to practice. preseason practices, and y'all would take off and y'all do all your workouts and you're running around the track. And I was amazed, being a Marine and being who I was amazed to watch that Brayden and this other freshman named Ethan Wells were leading every single run that you guys did. Y'all two were in the front as freshmen. And the seniors were in the back.
Yeah, and let's be clear here. When we say run, we're talking about a warm-up jog around the field a couple times. We're not necessarily talking about sprints or, a freaking 5K or something like that. We're talking about a warm-up run. But, it was those more senior guys who, I don't know what it was. It was, their attitude, a mixture of they're too cool to be in the front or they're seniors in the back type of deal. I don't know what it was. But that's just what they were doing. And I just remember you telling me, like, don't ever let me see you, like, doing that. Don't ever let me, finger in the face. Don't ever let me see you doing that. You being gung-ho, Mr. Marine Corps. So I wasn't about to have you upset with me. Plus, I knew that was a good look. It was a good look to be a freshman, new guy on the block, and sort of leading the pack at the front. And that's the mentality that I adopted for everything too. Every drill, I wanted to lead the pack. Every fitness, exercise, every sprint, every whatever. I wanted to lead the pack, or at least let it be abundantly clear that I'm busting my butt and moving as quickly or doing the absolute best that I possibly could.
So great tryout. I remember I watched a lot of it. That's what we do as parents, watched a lot of it. And then it came time for cuts, and what Coach Paul Hicks, great man, used to do is he'd put y'all in the end of the field and you would come out to midfield.
Yep.
Talk about that.
Coach Hicks, man. If he's watching or if he gets to see this, I love him to death. He's an awesome guy. But anyway, so when cuts would roll around, when it was time, summer workouts are over, 2 or 3 day, span of tryouts are over. What happened was he would have every single kid that tried out. I can't remember if we split up. No.
You were
every
every
single kid, we'd all go sit like 100 yards over in the field just as a group, just talking. And then he and, whatever assistant coaches were there at the time, the JV coach, they'd call us over. It was like it felt like, walking or jogging over to them felt like
3 miles.
It felt like running a marathon. But they'd call us over, and then they'd basically give you the verdict. And so my name got called, of course, and I go on over there, and I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think I got a pretty good shot at making the varsity team. I really, really do. Again, I'm like the smallest guy out there, but I still feel that I've got a pretty good shot at it because I felt like, what I had exhibited over the course of the summer and what I had done in the tryout, I felt like it was good enough.
Yeah.
So I walk over, and Coach Hicks, he said, something along the lines of like, you killed it, you crushed it, man. You did super, super well. And then he put his hand on my shoulder, like kind of one of those, and he said, but we don't know if you're quite, there and at the varsity level. And we, your size, you're pretty small, and you're going to be playing against 18-year-old, basically men at that point. And we're not really sure if you're really ready for that at this point. So we're going to put you on the JV team this year. But we're going to have a really, really strong JV team, blah, 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 blah.
Blowing smoke.
And that really sucked, man. It really, really sucked.
I remember, I'll tell you this from a father standpoint. I'm watching it because I'd watched the tryouts. I thought it was a shoe-in. I mean, because you had done so well. You had held your own. You had played well. I'm like, yeah, this is good. He's going to get a break. He's going to get a break, right?
Yeah, had gone through the tryouts, playing, trying out with the varsity guys. Oftentimes in tryouts, you can kind of tell where you stand by where you're at on the field, in the sea of 100 other kids that are trying out. And I'm trying out with I'm playing with the big dogs. I'm playing with the varsity guys, and so in my mind I'm like, okay, this is a good sign. But anyway, continue.
So I remember this, watching you, and you go like this. I watched the head drop. And when the head dropped and you turned, I knew, right? You were crushed.
Yeah.
I knew. So I'll fast forward this part, and I'll just kind of go, because all of a sudden, we go home. It's, you're crushed. We're talking about it. As a father, I'm trying to keep your head up. You got this. Keep working hard. And you're not happy. That chip on your shoulder's gotten bigger.
Yeah.
And Paul Hicks was the first one who gave you a chance.
He
Paul
sure
Hicks,
was.
My phone rang, and it was like, "Hey, Matt, this is Coach Hicks from Reagan. I want to talk to you." And he said, "I made a mistake." He goes, I thought about Brayden's size. I judged him too much on his size, and he should be on varsity. And I want him to prove it. So y'all used to go down and do a tournament in Jacksonville, North Carolina, at Dixon High School. He said, I want to take him down there. If he holds his own, then he's going to be on varsity. Can't promise you that he'll play, but I feel like it's better for him to be playing and practicing at the varsity level than, not. So he gave you the chance. He was the first one.
And the funny thing about that was, looking back on it, of course, I wanted to actually play on the varsity team for the duration of the season. But one of the big components to it for me, too, was I wanted to go on that beach trip so freaking bad. I wanted to go so bad. Piling on the activity bus, driving to Eastern North Carolina for like 4.5 hours on the activity bus with the team, with the boys, going and sleeping in a middle school gym on the gym floor, for 3 days, that just sounded so much freaking fun to me. And going down there and playing scrimmages and working out, getting ready for the season. I wanted to do that so bad. And the JV team, they didn't do anything like that. They just kind of practiced as normal. But I remember that distinctly. Like, I wanted to go on the beach trip so bad. But it certainly wasn't. It wasn't a done deal when we got that phone call. He may have told you like something different than he told me. But he basically what he had told me, he told me something similar. You were one of the guys that was on the bubble. But I've been thinking about it more, and I want to revisit it. Come down to the beach with us. We'll see how you do against, some actual opposition, and not just, playing against, guys internally here. And if it goes well, we've got a spot for you. And so
you were motivated.
Right.
Yeah. You were motivated.
I was motivated. And so, we go down on that beach trip. It was a blast. Really, really enjoyed it. And, basically how that beach trip worked. Coach Hicks was from Dixon, North Carolina, small area. And he went to a 1A school over there. But we would go, and the 1A school, the high school and the middle school are directly next to each other. And where we would stay was we would literally sleep on the gym floor of the middle school. So we all had air mattresses in the middle of the gym floor. And, we'd use the middle school gym showers and things like that. And then we'd walk right on out to the field. We'd practice for a couple of days. And then there was almost like a jamboree thing where a bunch of schools from North Carolina convened at this one field. And we would play against them. And so you weren't there to see it, I don't think, but I did well. I did well. Not only did I do well from like a quality on the ball, playmaking, all that different stuff, but I fought tooth and nail. Tooth and nail. Guys that probably had
50 pounds on you?
Yes, 50, 60 pounds on me. I'm going in there full steam.
Yeah.
And that's what got me the spot. Got me the spot. I definitely got rocked a few times, put on my butt. But I got right back up. And I never let that bother me. And I fought tooth and nail. And so after that beach trip, I got the spot, and that was like one of the best things that ever happened. Because we said just a few minutes ago, Coach Hicks he's the first person who ever gave me a chance. So
So you guys won 4 games that year. It was brutal.
We were not very good.
Not very good, but brutal. But you ended up starting games by the end of the year, midseason in the year, rotating in and out of the starting lineup. Lots of playing time, which was good. I'm kind of fast forwarding here through this because I want to kind of get to, move on to your senior year and all that. You moved up in club as well, so you move up into playing Premier.
Yep.
So which you're steadily moving up, which is incredible and testament to you.
So at that time I started playing for Fusion, North Carolina Fusion, and at that time that was basically Fusion was Twin City and Goosa, and basically Winston and Greensboro coming together to form a club, and it started at the Premier level. I finally made some Premier teams. So I'm, like we said, steadily kind of climbing the ranks there.
Yeah. So, this, I think the next game, high school season wise, we talk about that. Y'all won maybe 7.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't many. The next game you won, I think maybe 10, something like that, your junior year, but a little bit better, working hard. And then we go into your senior year. But before we start talking about your senior year, I want to talk about club a little bit because your ninth grade was great. You're on the academy, you're on the Premier, but you're playing great, and you're on the bubble to move up, to the team above Premier.
Yeah.
And and you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. So was obviously on the club side of things, my goal was to always make it to the academy. That was the top tier, highest you could go from a club perspective, and the way to really get a look from big schools or Division I schools or really, really great programs is to be on an academy team. If you're not on one of those, it's extremely, extremely, extremely difficult to get a solid look, just because like that academy tier is the most elite level that you could be at. Those guys didn't even play high school soccer. It was academy club ball year round. And that was always the goal. I never quite got there. But it all worked out in the end. Yeah.
So that was a big moment for you though, because you were frustrated that you came off a strong season and there was some, talk and good chances that you would move up and you didn't. And I never went with you to talk to any coaches, and all this frustration that you had, it was one of those things. It was on you. If you wanted to talk to them, I would support you. I thought it was good for you to talk to the coaches. But my thing that made me proud is it made you stuck it in and you kept working hard, right?
Yeah.
But we went and talked to one of your coaches. You asked me to go with you. And if you remember what he told you about it it's not your skill, but it's your talk about that.
Yeah. You talking about Chris Robinson?
Yeah.
Talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a wake-up call for you.
Yeah, we went to talk to him. I was maybe a junior at that
you were
point
a junior,
in time. A junior at that point in time, and I'm starting to look at schools. I'm starting to try to get my name out there to go to schools. And obviously, again, circling back to this whole mentality, aim for the sky kind of deal. I wanted to play D1. Wanted to do it so freaking bad. And so we went to talk to Chris Robinson because what can we do? What can we do to get my name out there? How can we work this? And basically, he wound up saying, you may want to set your sights a couple notches lower because you're quite frankly probably not really going to get a look from a Division I school.
But one of the other things he told you, if you remember, he said, because you were frustrated that you had not moved up because everybody thought you. If you remember this, but he said, Brayden, and you were like, what happened? Why? And he said, it's not your skill, it's your attitude.
Oh, my attitude.
Forgot
all about my attitude.
You're trying to ignore your attitude.
My attitude. So my attitude, I'm generally pretty hard on myself, and that's true for all aspects of my life. But I was the kind of player that if I was having a bad game, or the team was having a bad game, you're going to know exactly how I feel about it because it's going to be all over my face. It's going to be all up in my body language. You're gonna know about it. I was just one of those people. I wore it all on my sleeve for everybody to see. Is that a good thing? Absolutely not. Is it? And that's when he said that. You're right. That was truly a wake up call. I was like, dang, I got to work on this. Really got to work on this. And it's true. It's really, really hard because I always attributed that frustration and that anger that I would get because I cared. I cared so much. I cared about how I was performing. I cared about winning. I hated to lose. I had been on so many losing teams in the past, and I just could not stand it. And that's sort of what I attributed it to because that was my life. That was my life. Soccer was everything. And so I'd wear it all on my sleeve. But that doesn't look good. That's not what coaches want to see. Nobody wants to see that. And for any young player out there watching this or anybody who might see this, don't be like me. Don't get frustrated. Don't have poor body language. Keep your head up. Everybody has bad games. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes a bad pass. Professionals, you watch them, they give the ball away all the time. They'll shoot a shot, they'll shank it, and it'll go out for a throw in. It happens. So it's all about keeping your head up, maintaining that positivity. Maybe you acknowledge that you made a mistake. I think that's totally fine. That was a crappy pass, but I'm not going to let that bother me for more than 10 seconds maybe because it's on to the next one. The game goes on. So it took me a long time to get to that point, but you're right, that conversation.
That was a turning point. That was a huge turning point in your soccer career. And the reason why I bring that up is because we start going into your senior year where, you're hoping to go into your senior year and have a good high school season. And you and Ethan Wells came back from the academy so he could play his senior year. Mm-hmm. And now, so when you go into all your preseason workouts, which included now you leading it, y'all doing CrossFit, plus all the running, you guys led from the front, right?
Yep.
You guys were leading from the front. So now let's just talk about your senior year. And this is part of the magic that happened in your soccer life.
Yeah, arguably the most fun that I have ever had playing a sport. Playing soccer. That season was absolutely awesome. Ethan and I, team captains, we had a great group of guys. A group of seniors that had played together for years, some dating back to sixth grade. But we just had, I don't know what it was. We didn't have crazy talent. I mean, Ethan, he went on to play Division I. He was the only one that went on to play Division I. But Ethan, extremely talented player. But we didn't have lights out 5, 6, 7 Division I commits on this team. We just had a group of guys that worked extremely hard. We had a group of guys that everybody knew their role, everybody knew their job. Ethan and I did everything that we could to lead the team in the right way, and it just worked. It just worked for us. And we also had, an excellent coach. Coach Hicks, who, we had a game plan the entire way. We stuck it out, and we just started winning. We just started winning. Literally, we just started winning. We won the Forsyth Cup that year. That's a tournament at the front end of the season throughout the county. We went on to win the conference, and we went on to and then this was big too. Winning the conference was huge. That hadn't been done at Reagan High School in a while, so that was big in itself.
Yep.
But then came the state playoffs, and that was big in itself too because, I don't even know really how many times Reagan had made the state playoffs or made it past the first round of the state playoffs. But the state playoffs rolled around, and that was huge because we're having a great season. We're kind of on a roll here. We might have a chance.
Yeah, you had a great hype man going into the state tournament.
Yeah,
would you give him some props? Golly, come on.
You didn't come in until semifinals.
No, I came in early, man. I was doing all the tailgating stuff with the parents and everything like that.
Right.
Come on, give me some more credit, man.
I wasn't worried.
I was the hype man.
I wasn't worried about y'all. Tunnel vision, focus.
So state playoffs start, right? You have some tough games, some tough things happening. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean we had some really really tough games. We won like second or third round or something like that in PKs. That was super close. And you know we played some really really good teams. But we ended up all of a sudden we're in the quarterfinals. I can't recall exactly who we played that game. Was that Audrey Kale? That was
East Forsyth. That's East Forsyth.
Man, that
probably
game.
the most brutal soccer game I've ever seen in my entire life.
2
Ever.
red cards. Our center back gets a red card, and our leading goal scorer gets a red card in that game.
Yep.
But we win. And everybody was furious. That was just an ugly game.
Yeah, it's brutal.
So we end up, our leading goal scorer, Leke, is one of my best friends. He gets a red card, and then our center back, Pete, he gets a red card. 2 like extremely pivotal components of our team. Red cards, out, done, donezo.
Y'all finished with 9 players. Y'all finished with 9
we
players
finished
that
with
game.
9 players. But we ended up appealing Pete's red card because it was a load of garbage. There was under no circumstances should he have gotten a red card. And he wound up being able to play. Moving forward, we end up winning Charlotte Huff, I think, was the semifinal. Is that right?
Yeah.
My gosh.
That
man.
knocked y'all out the year before. 1,500 people at the game.
Knocked us out the year before. We beat them 3-0.
Yeah, that's where I was really the hype man because I had music playing when y'all were going on the field. I had lined up the drums the drum from the band. The first 15 minutes, the drums played, and y'all were up 2-0 in the first 15 minutes of the game.
And we've got like 2,000 people in the stands.
Yeah,
like 2,000 people. That doesn't happen at high school soccer games. It does not happen. I mean, it was hype, man. It was awesome. It was truly great. You're making me all.
Yeah.
I'm getting all like sentimental now. But anyway, it was freaking awesome. We ended up beating Audrey Kellen. Like, holy crap, we won the region. We're going to the state championship. I mean, it was like, are you serious? We're going to the state championship.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in the state championship. It's going to be played at NC State. It was November 15th, 2014. That was the date.
Yeah.
November 15th, 2014. We pile on a nice charter bus. Not the activity bus. We got a charter bus this time.
That's right.
But we trucked it on up
roll through downtown Louisville, North Carolina.
Roll through downtown.
The
fire department.
The police department, the big flag. We did this right, man. Come on.
We did it right. So props to everybody behind the scenes.
Thank you. I had to get credit for myself.
If Steve's over there, we probably would have had like
it'd have been much
speakers.
better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, but we go to the state championship, and we're playing Broughton. Broughton's
which I went to high school.
Yeah, special for you. But we're playing Broughton. And
we walk in, and somebody said, "Hey, where's this Reagan High School? What's Puff-Town?"
Where the heck is that from? But yeah, nobody knew who we were. That was the beautiful thing about it. Nobody had any idea who Reagan was. It was founded in 2005. Who the heck are they? Who do they think they are showing up here? But we show up, and Broughton, they were a good team.
Yeah.
They were a really, 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 really good team. And it was cold. It was really, really cold. But they were an excellent team. And it was really a hard-fought battle. But if I'm really being honest, and I'm sure that Coach Hicks would agree, and really any of my teammates would agree, we had no business winning that game.
Yeah.
We had no business winning that game. But Ethan's little brother, Ethan Wells, his little brother Noah Wells, was on the team at the time. He was a freshman. But Ethan plays the ball out to the right wing. His little brother's out there playing like right back or something like that. Plays the ball out to the right wing, makes a run inside the box. Noah crosses it in. Ethan's there to finish it. We go up 1-0.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, we go and brother to brother connection. That was pretty special. But we're up 1-0 now. And I mean, we were doing everything that we could to hang on. I mean, everything. We were definitely defending. I mean, we were defending. We were packed in. We weren't really seeing much of the ball at that point. We were just trying to hang on to that lead we have. And I remember with I don't know what it was, 10 minutes to go. I'm standing probably halfway between our goal line and midfield. And this guy somehow gets the box at our back post, and he's wide freaking open. And he shoots, and he hits the post, and it goes out. Yeah. And I remember when he got the ball, and he's about to wind up and shoot, I'm like, we're going to overtime. We're going to overtime. But he hit the post, and he missed, and we won.
So the best thing, you won 1-0.
We won the game, man.
And one of your teammates did a tweet afterwards that said, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Post.
Holy Post, baby.
Yeah,
but
awesome.
I mean, we won, and that was just. I mean, it was awesome. I don't even have words to really describe.
Lean over real quick. I know the light's covering it, but lean to the side real quick.
Oh yeah, I got to show everybody actually.
There we go.
So,
there it is.
Champions. Oh yeah, and that's my little shrine to myself. But anyway, that was. I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah. So
most fun I've ever had.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was absolutely amazing, and it was such a life, lesson. And I'll tell you this before we move on. That's one of the reasons why I like for you to tell your story, because that is a story of success. That is a story of perseverance. That is a story of succeeding when you kept getting kicked and kept getting knocked down. You kept getting up and you kept coming back stronger. And so the story doesn't end there. For most people, the story ended there. But for a few of you, you kept going. And Jeff Bateson is watching. Talk a little bit about Jeff Bateson. Talk a little bit about Guilford College, because we had the talk at the time, and being somebody who played college baseball, my advice to you was, hey, you know what? Go play. You're not going to the MLS. Let's be honest. Go somewhere where you're going to play. And so this man named Jeff Bateson recruited you to Guilford, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, it got to the point where the whole, playing in college thing, I was definitely going to do it no matter what. But it got to the point where, I realized, maybe I could squeak on a D1 team by the skin of my teeth. But I'm never going to see the field. Never going to see it. So it got, we started having that conversation, why don't I try to find somewhere where I'm going to go and I'm going to play, and I'm going to play all 4 years, and be a pretty key part of that program. So we started looking at, some smaller schools, and we found Guilford, and we found Coach Bateson. We went and visited in May. It was in Greensboro. Very, very strong school academically, which is incredibly important. Beautiful campus, small campus, but very, very pretty campus. A lot of history to the school as well. And then Coach Bateson was great. We met him. I got to spend some time in the locker room with the team at the time. And it was just a great sort of visiting experience and recruitment experience. That's where I decided to go. And had a great 4 years there. Got very solid playing time my freshman year. And then really from there on out was pretty much a regular in the starting lineup. And then by the time I was a junior, I was a captain and playing 90 minutes every game. And that's, I couldn't really ask for anything else, to be honest, because I was playing and that's what I wanted to do was play.
Your junior and senior year. You barely left the field, both junior and senior year.
Yep.
And so team captain 2 years in a row, as a father, I'll tell you, it makes me extremely proud, because, you're a leader out there, and it started back when you were younger. I mean, I think, you go back, Paul Hicks had a big part in who you were and your growth. Some of your other coaches really did. I think Jeff, had a big part in who you were. He's, a great guy, a big part of Convene still to this day, which is pretty cool. One of the things that, I don't know if Jeff's still listening, but, he wrote you a handwritten card, and you still have it on your bulletin board up in your room. So that's a classic thing.
Those little touches, those are incredibly important. And small things like that, making it a great experience for, a young guy like me, coming in, looking at schools and things like that. That's why I ended up going there. So,
yeah. So, all right, we only have 10 minutes left. So we spent the majority of our time talking about soccer. And I think that's really good in sports because that's a big part of who you are, right?
I mean, if we really boil it down, all of that we just talked about, is a tremendous part of who I am today.
Yeah. That's your story.
Yeah. All the mentality and things like that I take, to my life today, is that foundation was built, in sports and soccer. So it's important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the adversity is important too, because a lot of times you got kicked and you got knocked down, like I said, but you always got back up and went at it stronger. And so that's kind of key. So let's talk about graduating. What was your degree and graduating, and what did you do right after school?
Yep. So I studied economics at Guilford. Wound up really falling in love with econ and the department there. Great professors. Got a really, really great education there. Senior year, I wound up my final semester, so spring semester, wound up doing an internship for a local organization there in Greensboro. Had a great experience in the internship, and ended up joining that company full time right after I graduated. I mean, literally right after I graduated May 4th and started full time May 13th. So I was ready to, I guess, make some money of my own. I didn't really want to take any hiatus because I was tired of being broke. But so I jumped right into it, and I was, tremendous organization. I mean, great. I can't say enough great things about the company. And the people in the company. Small privately held company, about 60 people total in one single building, full of excellent people. I mean, the most talented, most motivated, caring people, that some of the most caring people that I've ever met, really. And the job itself, I was pretty good at. Really hit the ground running. I had that foundation as an intern. Really hit the ground running and started seeing success. Started, closing some deals, making commission, and things like that. And I was being extremely successful. However, that role in that industry, it never sleeps. It never stops.
And so 80 hours. You were working 78 hours a week.
I quickly realized that, I've committed to something where I am working all of the time. And when I say all the time, I mean all of the time. Friday evening and Saturday. That was the only
time you took off.
Only time I took off. And part of that is me as well. Like I said a little bit earlier, I'm very hard on myself. Anything I set my mind to, I want to do my absolute best. I want to be successful. I want to do a good job. I want to be dependable. I don't want to let anybody down. I don't want to let my client down. I don't want to let my boss down at the time. I don't want to let the organization down, etc. So I was, I'll drive myself into the dirt to make that happen. Is the mentality that I took.
So I was going to Israel. I want to tell the story real quick.
Yeah.
We're out of time, but I was going to Israel on a trip, and you said to me before I went, you were struggling. I mean, let's be honest, you were struggling.
Yeah, I was in a dark place.
You're in a dark place because you were struggling. You're trying to make everybody happy. You're working your butt off. I was trying to talk you into leaving, but you said to me, Dad, when you're over there, will you pray? Now, this is a true story. You can't make this up. I was at the Western Wall, and I wrote a prayer, and I prayed for, your mom, me and her marriage, for you and Megan and Lainey, and I prayed for Convene Communities. And then I started praying for everybody individually. And when I started praying for you, you know this story, I felt this energy come through my entire body down to my knees and come back up. And when I went and got back on the bus, I hadn't talked to you in about 5 days at that point. When I got back on the bus when I had internet, there was a text from you that said, "Hey, Dad, felt like I just needed to check in with you right now," you know, and it was phenomenal to me that happened. And it really happened. That's a no kidding. That happened just like that. You can't make it up. And so we come back and, we talk a lot and you make the transition. And it was hard for you to make the transition, right?
It was probably one of the more difficult decisions that I've ever had to make, if not the most difficult, for a number of reasons. Number one, I've never quit anything in my life. Never quit anything, and I did not want to quit. I felt like if I quit, I'm letting the company down. I'm letting everybody down, and I'm basically throwing in the towel. And I just could not come to terms with that. It took me months. to come to terms with that. And it took, you and Mom and whomever else to say, you can't look at it that way. You can't look at it that way. You're not throwing in the towel. You've had success. You're good at the job. You didn't fail. But I felt like if I quit, I was failing. I failed. I had failed at that. I couldn't do it. I wasn't good enough to do it. That's what I felt like inside. But it took a lot of conversation and a lot of self-reflection, a lot of prayer, all of that to finally realize, that I'm not failing. This just isn't my cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea. This is not it's not what God put me on the earth to do. So I need to make a change. And I did that. Basically, it dawned on me that one day, that Sunday, I wrote my 2 weeks notice that evening, turned it in that Monday morning. And the company was crushed. I was crushed to leave them. I truly love those people. I still do. Keep in touch with a lot of them. 2 of my best friends work there. And I was sad to leave. I really, really was. But I was also just excited about whatever it was that was going to come next, which I didn't even know at the time. Was that a good decision? Who knows? Who knows whether that was a good decision?
But you had multiple interviews. You were worried that you wouldn't get any interviews, and they just started coming. So let me say this to you, because now you work with, and we talked about it at the beginning. Yeah. You work with this company, TTI. What's beautiful about that, and it's really kind of ironic, you go to work at 7:00 in the morning, you get off at 3:30 in the afternoon. You're not supposed to answer your phone. You're not supposed to return text. You're not supposed to return email. And that's how this company works. Yeah.
My boss today, in fact, this even happened today, just again, circling back to this mentality that I have, just about everything that I do in life. I'm supposed to clock out at the store, at wherever store I'm at 3:30. Which I do. I clock out at 3:30, but do I always leave the store at 3:30? No, because there's still things that I need to do. There's still things that I need to accomplish, and I'll stay a little bit to get it done. Just because, again, that's the mentality that I take. I want to do a good job. I want to be dependable. I want to be successful, etc. So I'm going to do what it needs to be done to do it. And she gets upset with me because I do that.
Yeah. Well, let me say something. We really didn't get into this, but I'm just going to make the comment, and then I'll read a closing thought here, because I think it's a good closing thought. One is, you're a big part of Convene Communities.
Yep.
You've been helping me build Convene Communities since you were 13. You're now 23. So you have been in this from the beginning, from day one. Like, we talk about it. You've worked on it with me. You're a big reason we are. You have an amazing story. I just encourage you to continue to go forward and tell your story, because, Patty Road, I love this story. This is really, really great. And so as we move forward, and that's what Convene's about: real life, real people, real experience, and telling your story. So you have a great story. We counted one time, out of all the people that went and played college soccer, there's only less than a handful of people who played 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. So your coach that recruited you to college said, what's important about this is that you finished 4 years at Guilford. Most of your class left after a year or two. Dedication, stick with what you choose to do, and do it to the fullest. And that is you. That's you.
That's it. And I mean, to answer Patty's question from earlier in the show, I think it was, what would I tell my younger self? And that's basically it right there. Just keep your nose to the grindstone, man. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Don't let anybody tell you that you're less than what you think you are and what you believe that you are. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Keep working hard. And I promise you one day it will pay off for you. And it did. And I wouldn't change anything about my story up to this point. Not a single thing. Wouldn't change anything. So
yeah, I look at it real quick. I look at you, and I look at the people that you started with and did not finish, right? And you stayed after it. You persevered, right? I think that some of those people that didn't finish, why did they not finish? Why did they not keep playing? Well, because they had it handed to them their whole life. And finally, when they got to the college level and they had to work, guess what? It was a little bit harder than they thought it was.
Yeah, hard work's hard. Hard work's hard.
Yeah, hard work is hard. And so you've been working, you are working at it your whole life. You're too small, Brayden. You're too small. What position did you play your senior year?
Center back.
Center back.
Coach Bateson somewhere laughing right now.
Yeah, because how tall are you?
I'm about 5'7" on a good day.
Playing center back, right?
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
hey, we had to work. We had to work with what we had.
Yeah, but it was good though. But I think it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And you know what? I go back and like I used to tell you is that my best memories are playing college baseball. I did a Zoom call with my college roommates the other day that I played baseball with a couple of weeks ago. It was great, So those friends that you made, those friends that you started with when you were 11, Lake Robert, that you're getting ready to be in his wedding, those people that you grew with and all that. And that's one of the reasons why you were so good your senior year. Jeff said a really good day. You're 5'7". That's just so funny.
Maybe 5'6" and 3/4.
Yeah. That's right. Dedication though. Look, I truly appreciate it. I'm proud of you. You already know that. We talk all the time. We have such a great relationship. I'm really so glad that you've done what you did, that you persevered, that you played. I'm proud of you for the career decisions that you have made and the things you're doing with your new job. Really awesome. Not just me. Your mom's proud too. You know that. But just keep pressing. And, we're going to make great things happen with Convene. But we're going to have you, we're going to have you keep telling your story because it's a positive, powerful story. It truly is.
I guess there's more there than I thought.
That's why I had you do this podcast tonight, Brayden. I'm smarter than I look, man. I might be a redneck with improper English,
I see what you're getting at.
That's right. And Jeff, don't say anything about my English either, since you're an English major. See what I work with, Tizo?
We got to work on. We're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Now, Patty, take up for me here. What makes me? All right. So look, proud of you. Let's keep it up. Let's keep working hard because let's keep the dedication going. Let's take that same passion and keep rolling with it on this. I'll let you get the closing words, and then Stezo will take us out of here. Stezo, as always, thank you for everything you do in the back. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
we posted it in the feed real quick. All the places that you can hear. So make sure to check that out. And go ahead, Brayden, take us away.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This has been a whole lot of fun, and I hope that my story might mean something to somebody out there who hears it. Especially maybe a young person or a young athlete. I hope that my story and this little reflection session has some sort of impact on you. Whoever you are, whatever you're doing, work hard, keep grinding, nose to the grindstone. Don't let anybody tear you down. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not as good as you think you are. Because at the end of the day, if you believe in yourself, you can do anything. I know that sounds corny, but I think it's true. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah. And if you're in a job that you're not happy with, make a change. Make a change. That's what you did. That's what
Make a
you did.
change. It's all right to make a change.
It's all right to make a change. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Looking forward to having Ryan Lowe back on. Get off your attitude with the book. It's going to be really good. So make sure to listen. And thanks a lot, Stezo. Appreciate you. Have a good night, everybody.